It's exactly 18 after 9 o'clock, and a very, very interesting program has been put together by, I presume it's the South African Debate Initiative, and it is being hosted by Yusuf Ismail, who is the guest on the show this morning. He's a public speaker and debater on religion and contemporary society. Before we get to this actual debates that are going to be rolling out, let me also very excitedly share with our viewers and our listeners, Alhamdulillah, we at Salam Media will be playing out these Islamophobia series every night at 9 o'clock right here on Salam Media. So please, please, please do tune in. We are definitely part of the collective which is promoting these talks. So it gives me much pleasure to welcome to the show Brother Yusuf Ismail. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you doing, ma'am? Julie,
with
how are you
your
doing,
duas,
sister?
Alhamdulillah, and what an exciting and interesting initiative that's being rolled out. I mean, you have such heavyweight speakers here with the most amazing topics at hand.
Yeah, certainly. It was a bit of a tough week for me because last week, by the way, I must say, I tested positive, and I believe it's the Omicron, but I appear to be recovering, and we certainly are going ahead with these programs. It's a critical issue. It's a core component, particularly in the post-pandemic world that we are living in. These issues are still in the public arena. The information, the misconceptions, the distortions, the stereotypes, and the negativity and the prejudice are all over us in the global media, in the mass media, in the mainstream press, and we need to be more aware of it. And certainly, we've got an exciting lineup of speakers. I believe Salam Media is carrying it at 9 p.m. every evening, starting from the 22nd of December right up till the 27th. And we've got exciting topics lined
Inshallah.
up for the
Inshallah.
For the rest
We're
of
going to
the
go into the topics and we're going to go into these amazing speakers as well. But Ismail, Yusuf, how do you find yourself in this space? I just think it's an amazing space. And I'd also like to see people like you interacting and spreading these type of messages far and wide, especially amongst our young people.
Well, yes, certainly. I have been involved in interfaith debate for many, many years now, and we have had the opportunity of engaging some of the, from the friendliest of individuals to some of the most hostile people out there in terms of ideologically. I'm talking about at the highest level ideologically, you've got people like Robert Spencer and Daniel Horowitz, Osama Abduqa, a whole lot of individuals. And the point being made, what people don't know is that in the world today, you've got a small group of conservative foundations. They are wealthy donors. They are the lifeblood of the Islamophobia network in the United States, in different parts of the world. They support a central nervous system. And this consists of a clutch and a series of misinformation experts. The main kind of talking points and messages that are relied upon and repeated in every segment of this kind of interconnected network is that Islam is a monolith, Islam is anti-woman, Islam is repressive, and certainly it is opposed to progress, and of course it brings up issues of Sharia, and they talk about Sharia law and so on. Now, I might add one thing, other sister, is that we as Muslims have been partly to blame for this phenomenon as well. Besides being better articulators of the message in order to confront the negativity, the stereotypes, and the misconceptions, we ourselves have created societies which are insular, which are polarized from the rest of the world. I mean, even in the South African context, our relationship with Islam is one which is very relativistic, in the sense that, you can make the claim that we've got the solutions to the problems of the world, and Islam has ready-made solutions, but what solutions are we in fact coming up with? What solutions are we bringing up to South African society, or challenging the injustices even within the local context? It seems that our leadership has dismally failed us at a number of levels, at least in the conventional South African context and indeed globally. And so basically we need like-minded minds to come together and discuss these issues and create certainly a level of discourse The one regret I do have, in which I face some degree of criticism, is that I should have possibly included more females in the discussion. There should have been more females that are certainly capable and competent enough. But because of the limited time period, and these speakers are well known to me, they're on my fingertips. We regularly communicate. Logistically, this was the best that I could do in a short time period in getting this program to get together and, of course, create this awareness and discourse that people need to be aware of.
Okay, so you answered my question around the female presenters or speakers, because that was my next question.
There are a number. I mean, I could think about Linda Sassour, Dalia Mugahed, Ilhan Umar, a lot. And unfortunately, it was just the time constraints.
Inshallah, the next time around, just include a couple of sisters as well.
Most
I
definitely.
wish you well. I hope you recover from the current Omicron virus. And despite that, you're still going ahead with this amazing program. It's entitled Islamophobia Unpacked, Misconceptions and Theological Controversies. And you've got amazing minds in your lineup. So talk to us about the people that you've lined up, where they come from, and what they're going to be tackling as far as this program is concerned.
Yeah, well, we've got a diverse lineup of individuals in terms of the geographical locations at strategic points in the world. We've got Dr. Shabir Ali, who is from Toronto, a graduate from the University of Toronto, a specialist in comparative religious studies, biblical studies, and has in fact debated and engaged in Islamophobes. He runs for the past 20 years in Canada, on national television, he runs a program called Let the Quran Speaks. And he's been engaging with the non-Muslim audiences for many, many years. This is his specialty. We've got Dr. Safi Kaskas from, I believe, Pennsylvania, who is a Quran translator. Him and associate Dr. Dr. Robert Crane, who's now late, was part of the Nixon administration way back in the 70s. Sam Shropshire, who's now based in Saudi Arabia, was involved in ministry and involved in lobbying government during the Reagan administration. Then we've got Dr. Fadel Suleiman, who's given many TEDx talks. He's an engineer based in the United Kingdom, formerly from Egypt. Atil Onkyu from Bronx, New York City. And, of course, Adnan Rashid, who's an historian from the School for Oriental and African Studies. That's where he's got his qualification. That will be the first program tomorrow, where I believe 9 o'clock your time and 7:30 on the airwaves of, CI and ITV. He'll be discussing the issue of Islamophobia in the context of India, and certainly the present impasse that you have between the Indian government and certainly the majority of the population in India. And then, of course, on the penultimate program will be on Monday, on the 27th, when Dr. Fadel Suleiman would be tackling the core critical issues, where we will be dealing with the nuanced questions surrounding the issues of women, surrounding the aspect of violence, whether Islam promotes violence, surrounding the aspect of oppression, surrounding, for example, distortions that people may have on the Quran. That will be more focused on fundamental questions. But I urge people not to miss tomorrow's session, and certainly the session with Dr. Shabir Ali on Thursday, and then Dr. Safi Kaskas, who's a Quran translator, by the way. There are not too many around, to be discussing reading the Quran in an Islamophobic context, and certainly making the Quran more contemporaneous in your life. Now, he's certainly given me the permission to circulate the Quran, his translation via PDF, and we'll certainly make that widely available and widely distributable. It is available on Amazon, the Quran, A Contemporary Understanding. That's what it's titled, by Dr. Safi Kaskas. And then, of course, we've got Sam Shropshire on Friday, sharing his experiences, now based in Saudi Arabia, and, of course, an American's journey to Islam. And then, of course, on Saturday, since it's Christmas, we do have a discussion on a Christmas spin in terms of how Muslims relate to Christians and the Christian communities and how we interact with each other, and certainly sharing our faith with each other. So each speaker we will be tapping into, and he will be obviously sharing his expertise on the subject and his specific experience in relation to the subject itself. And then, of course, we'd obviously want to create the discourse, the awareness. There's no copyright to these material once they've been broadcasted, certainly. They would be uploaded on YouTube, and people can certainly share them to their friends and neighbors and colleagues to get the information out there. And at the very least, create the awareness, create the discourse. This is all we can do. we should create the awareness, create the knowledge. Knowledge empowers individuals. Of course, the majority of anti-Islam messages polluting our national discourse today, we should be able to provide a legitimate response to the hate and the negativity and the stereotypes and prejudice.
Absolutely. Okay, as we speak, the poster is on screen. So for those people who are watching us, will see the poster on screen with all of the information contained therein. And I can't wait to start watching and listening to these really amazing minds talking about issues around Islam. I just want to digress here and pick your brain for a minute or two, and I'll digress from this current discussion. Recently, we've heard about the Tabligh Jamaat being banned in Saudi Arabia, which will have very wide-ranging repercussions for the Jamaat all around the world. That's question number one. And how do we close that gap? There's a huge divide between conservative Muslims or conservative Islam and modernists or middle of the roaders or moderate Islam. So can you just indulge me and respond to me with those two questions?
Well, you see, Saudi Arabia, Saudi society, and the Saudi leadership, it's a very schizophrenic society in the sense that, on the one hand, when it suits them, they, for example, the MBS would appeal to the religious conservatives when he wants to legitimize certain acts or legislations. But on the other hand, he portrays the idea of this kind of liberalism that is being introduced in society. So I may add that from a religious point of view, kind of just conservative, but from a political point of view, basically wants to liberalize society.
Okay, Yusuf, I'm not hearing you clearly. Do you just want to move around or something, please?
Sure.
I'm losing you.
I think it's probably the network that is causing this. I'm just saying that.
I can hear you loudly now.
I was just saying that Saudi Arabia is a very dislocated, disenfranchised, schizophrenic society, and it's a society of contradiction. So on the one hand, where it would suit him, he would invoke religion and the religious mullahs to back his particular agenda. And when it doesn't suit him, you will have rave parties and rock concerts and nightclub events and so on and so forth. And so, the Tabligh Jamaat is an apolitical movement. It's a conservative movement on its own, and certainly it comes from the context of the Indo-Pakistani subcontinent. But for one reason or the other, apparently it appeared to be not conducive to Saudi climate, and so apparently there's some sort of banning order in place. And whilst he's banning that, he's opening other avenues for vices. I was just reading about the introduction of rave parties and the climate of rock concerts and so on. So Saudi society is extremely schizophrenic at this particular juncture. And the MBS, who is actually the real king, not his father who's under dementia, MBS operates under the schizophrenic opportunity. On the one hand, he's not liberal in the sense of allowing religious discourse which is diverse. That will not be allowed. I will not be able to speak in any Saudi mosque. We will not be able to discuss religion. So from that perspective, it is conservative in the sense of getting a certain selected religious elite or clique that is suitable to the agendas of the monarchy. But on the other hand, you would, for example, have a situation where, religious leaders or some scholars would be oppressed or would be kept in incarceration. Political dissidents would be oppressed and kept in prison. Women would be incarcerated and kept in prison. And I think we need to speak out against it. The one thing shocking is that our leadership, our Sahuk, our Hajj councils, for years we've been keeping quiet. I mean, our organizations and leadership and ulama leadership, where are they? They are silent about the oppression. This is not new. Saudi society has always been oppressive. And this is just taking it to another level, but it operates from a schizophrenic perspective. Some religious elements are acceptable and some are not. So this is a contradiction that you see. Relating to the second aspect of your question about balance, moderation, and balance, well, Islam does in fact say that you are to take the middle path in Surah Baqarah, the middle of the chapter of Surah Baqarah. So we are not supposed to be extreme in our religious values. The Quran says, even in relation to the people of the book, but which can be applied to us. لا تغلوا في دينكم. Do not go to extremities in matters of faith. You are to live your life in the modern world, and more particularly contemporize your faith and make it relevant in the 21st century in the sense of applying the principles, the ethics, moralities, the justice, the concept of truth, and what is right and wrong, and use the Quran as a tool in terms of developing solutions to the problem in your society. So the one thing which people don't know is that Islam doesn't give you ready-made solutions to the problems of society. But what it does do, and what the Quran and the prophetic paradigm does do, is that it creates a just and moral framework within which you as an individual can find solutions to the problems that you see in South African society and indeed globally. So if we see corruption, if we see a sense of degradation, despair, deprivation, and poverty, what's our solution as Muslims? We should be in the positions of leadership in the sense of guiding society to the way forward. Our Quran supersedes the constitution of the country of South Africa. We have a future world constitution that is at our fingertips, but we're not accessing it. More often than not, the Quran is left on the shelves, and we just simply have a very emotive connection with the text and the guidance from Allah, and certainly just using
Yusuf,
it at our time.
I'm sorry, I need to interrupt you there. The line is very bad. Let's just wrap up very quickly by reminding our listeners and our viewers about this amazing series starting tomorrow night. And also, I hope and pray, inshallah, in the near future, I am able to engage individually with your guests on a show, however we might decide to structure it, but I would love to unpick all of their minds as well, inshallah. Just remind the listeners about this once again, please.
Well, it's tomorrow, starting from the 22nd of December. I believe Salam Media will have it at 9 p.m., as you've informed me. On the other platforms, CI and the DSTV, ITV, you'd probably be able to catch it much earlier at 7:30. So depending on your taste or preferences, it will be on different airwaves, Salam Media, CI, ITV, as well as the Souk Islam YouTube channel. Starting tomorrow, the 22nd of December, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, and concluding on the 27th. Every evening, this is a program not to be missed. We've got an exciting lineup of speakers, scholars, and certainly debaters who are experts on this specific field.
Undoubtedly, and I look forward to watching and listening to them, and maybe host them in future shows right here on Salam Media. Jazakallah so much for bringing this to the public. Keep safe and keep us in your du'as. Assalamu alaikum to you, Yusuf Ismail, public speaker and debater on religion and contemporary society, which brings us to 9:36 exactly right here on News and Views.
These